welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from BlackWhere Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Turn Left. Listen, guys, this is an exciting time. And I say this at the beginning of every show because when you have people who decide that, the status quo or how things are going is not something that they can live with anymore, they decide that they want to be a part of the process, they become a candidate. And when they become a candidate, Indiana's own Dana Black is going to find them. So I'm so excited, especially for the State House. Because if you notice, most of the interviews I've done thus far have been State House because that's where the power is. That's where the power is. The State House has the ability to not implement laws from the federal level. And they also have the ability to regulate what they do at the municipal level. So we need to, and the state controls so many things. So the fact that we have so many candidates and all 25 Senate seats are on the ballot this year and we have Democrats running in them is a clear indication that Hoosiers are ready for change. So today, we got another one. Guys, welcome to the show. Julie McGill, who is running for State Senate District 15. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing today?
Having a pretty good day.
I love it. So tell the people who you are, where you come from.
So I was born and raised right here in Fort Wayne. My husband and I chose to stay here and we've raised our children here. I'm actually just 1 square mile away from my childhood home.
Oh.
I'm a mom, I'm a small business owner, and I've been through life's rough patches before, and I've done everything right, and I've had all the advantages in the world. And so if I struggled that much when an unexpected life event happened, what happens to all these other people that have no support and no help? And it just really opened up my eyes that it's not, sometimes you're a victim. I hate to say victim, but sometimes it's just,
so it's okay. It's a real word.
I know, but sometimes circumstances just change your life that are outside of your hands. And that's kind of what has pretty much run my life for the last 14 years. Wow. My son, he was born, we didn't know when he was born, but we quickly learned that he has profound disabilities. And this is 14 years ago. Okay. And so I went to school, I got all the degrees, did everything right, was settling down with my husband, and then I couldn't work because we were constantly going to doctor's appointments. And my husband was working a full-time job and a part-time job, and things were just really, really rough. But somehow we made our way through that and we were able to rebuild. But I think about that all the time and what other people are actually going through. And right now it just seems like Hoosiers are one emergency away from having a crisis. Childcare is unaffordable. The vouchers have been paused. Property taxes are crazy. That relief was a joke. And, utility bills keep going up and wages are stagnant. So I tried reaching out to, a lot of different representatives and I got the cold shoulder. And so I felt like I was screaming into the void, trying to make a lot of different changes of what's going on, especially in the disability community and Medicaid. And since I didn't feel like I was being heard at all, I thought I need to get a seat at the table. And so that's kind of what's motivated me to run, is to stick up for other people because I don't feel like their voices are being heard. And I don't think the average person's best interest is what's happening.
No, that's great. So let me ask you, was there something in your upbringing that allowed you to, I know that your adult circumstances probably shaped a lot of the things that you see, but was there something in your upbringing that allowed you to grow that level of compassion for humans?
Honestly, it's the time is, or the tale as old as time. I didn't until it affected me.
Okay.
That is I feel like true for so many people. And Honestly, I would say it was a driving incident that actually made me realize that nobody knows what other people are going through.
Interesting.
And so, with my son's disabilities, there was a period of time where he didn't tolerate stopping and going in the car. And so at a red light, if somebody turned right on red, there's this gap that you should, usually close up. And I wouldn't do that because that would be a big trigger for him and he would scream like you were ripping his arms off. And I thought about the car behind me and I thought, I wonder if they know, like, if they think I'm just not paying attention or if they're mad that I'm not doing this, And then I thought, is there any way in the world they could possibly imagine that's the scenario I'm going through, that this lady has a child with disabilities that's going to lose his mind if she rolls up and stops? And so it just gave me, I don't know, it was just like an aha moment. And it sounds so silly, but that's kind of what has completely changed my mindset.
That's not silly because, one, you're a mother, right? A mother's love is just very different. I am not a mother, but I know from being surrounded by mothers my whole life that the way you love, you will walk through fire. That's not my story. I'm going to tell anyway. I remember when I was at a gas station and a lady's car, she didn't put it in, the kid was maybe 2 or 3 and accidentally put the car in gear. And the door was open. I was trying to run and get inside. The mother came up beside me and jumped in and got it. So nothing happened, right? Like it was just different. I was trying to help, but the mother did it. So I get that. So one of the things that you mentioned is that you have had to not navigate Medicare, Medicaid, and I imagine because of your child. Talk about the frustrations you had to endure while trying to get care for your child.
Well, honestly, I keep saying honestly, but at first, it was hard. We needed Medicaid, which we have private insurance, but a lot of people don't realize my son's very profoundly disabled. So he has a feeding tube. But even though we have great private insurance, they don't consider any of that medically necessary. Not the device implanted in him, not the tubing, not the pump, not the formula, none of it. And that's $6,000 a month.
How did they expect him to eat?
Exactly. I don't know. So Medicaid actually became our lifeline, and he's our only member of our house that utilizes it, but that's what it does for us. And so it's been tough. I remember getting letters in the mail and I would cry because of the certain program he was on due to his disability. They looked at him as his own household, but they would ask me what income parents made. And if I gave it to them, they'd make a mistake and kick them off. And if I didn't put it on there, I was worried, like, am I committing like Medicaid fraud because I'm not giving that information and they're asking for it. So it was just very, very stressful. But I'm one of those people that I'm like a sponge. And so I'm always trying to learn resources and figure things out. So it didn't take me too long to kind of learn the ropes, but I've also realized that I'm different than everybody else. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for help and guidance and to explain things because it is very, very confusing. And right now with Medicaid waivers and all of that, it's just constantly, the state keeps constantly changing it because I hate to say they have nefarious plans, but they just look at everybody as a number and they have no compassion for anybody right now. And the whole system is beyond broke, and it's so difficult to explain to people because there's so many different layers to it. And if you take the time to explain one layer, it might not seem as significant, but it's all these layers together and how it's impacting people. And I just see it all the time. It's just absolutely horrific what the state is doing to to care services.
Give us an example of something that they're doing, that because I've never really had to deal with it. So I know that people struggle trying to get the coverage that they need, but give us an example of one of those layers that people may not even know exists and makes things much harder than it has to be.
So right now, the state has made it impossible for there to be any new home health agencies. They didn't like that people were getting care at home, and they know if there's not providers, then they don't have to pay out claims.
Huh?
And so because more people are becoming home health providers, they said you have to be Medicare certified to be able to provide services in Indiana, which is an extra layer you don't have to do. You could just be Medicaid certified and not have to do Medicare. Medicare is just a whole more compliance. It costs, you have to be accredited with an organization, and that can be tens of thousands of dollars. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Interesting.
And at the same time that they're implementing this, which goes into effect July 1st, the federal government has put a moratorium on issuing any more Medicaid certifications for home health companies. So essentially, the state has made it where existing home health companies, if they weren't paying attention to all these changes, might find themselves not being able to provide services come July 1st. And there's not going to be any possibility for any companies to replace them.
So, okay. Usually when a piece of legislation is introduced, I don't remember this particular one. So I need to ask the question, and maybe what was the testimony, or what did the author suggest was the reason for limiting providers for people who actually, because we know we have an aging community, for one, right? And that's just one thing on its own. And we're not talking about people with disabilities, but we know we have an aging community. What was the argument for limiting more caregivers and more providers?
Honestly, FSSA has a lot of liberty to administer the programs however they want. There was no checks and balances. There wasn't public input.
Interesting. So this wasn't something that the public even knew about it. They just changed the rules. Was there a notice that was sent out or something?
Yes, there were notices sent out, but literally the state keeps changing things like every few months, that unless you've made it your full-time job to pay attention and be really engrossed in it, you're going to miss stuff, because every time they find another way to cut services, like they make a change, whatever they can do to reduce. Like my son, he goes to ABA, for example, which
what is ABA?
It's applied behavioral analysis, and that is like people with autism.
Okay,
will go there and kind of learn how to do. They might have behaviors, so like learning more accepted behaviors and how to deal with things, and just more one-on-one support. And his center has told me that lately Medicaid has denied nearly 100% of their submissions.
Oh my gosh. That means they're not going to be in business for very much longer.
Well, you have to appeal them, but then who's got the time and energy? So you weed some people out that aren't even going to bother. And then if you do take the energy to appeal it, if they come back and say, well, we'll give you half of what you're asking, how many people accept that because it's better than nothing? So that's half of savings for them. And if they have to pay it out, then then that's what they would have had to do anyways. And they saved all that money along the way. But it just creates so much hardship, not just for providers, but for families.
Julie, every time I turn around, somebody in this administration in our state is talking about Jesus and Christ and God and all the things. How do you say you Christ-like and you want to make you're putting mechanisms in place to make it harder for people to just exist? Yep. They just don't care. It's just a dollar sign to them. I feel like it's just a facade. They say one thing and act very
high and mighty, but then when it comes down to actions, they just don't follow the words that they're saying.
Interesting. So what you said, you got a bunch of degrees. What is your profession?
So when I wasn't able to work, it kind of changed everything. So I'm not really in what I went to school for. So I have my master's degree in actuarial science, which is like a lot of statistics and risk management.
That's my brain just started hurting as soon as you said that.
But then when my son was born, I couldn't really do anything. But my mom had an insurance agency that she sold insurance. And so she would let me work, an hour here or there when I had a little bit of support, or she'd let me bring my son in with me. And so I was able to make like a little bit of money. And then eventually my son's condition, you just run out of testing after so long, but like the doctor's appointments just really slowed down and things got more steady and stable. And so I ended up working there full time until about 4 years ago, because of everything that I've been through, I saw caregivers kind of being, I felt like, exploited from some non-medical home care companies. And so I just thought, well, even if I just do this and help out caregivers that I know, it'll be worth it, to help other people. So I started that. I was doing that part-time, and just from word of mouth and doing the right thing, it's kind of grown into something bigger. So now I do that I've been doing that full time probably the last two full years, and I was doing it kind of part-time before that.
That is pretty dope, right? You were able to experience it, but instead of turning bitter and going inward, you said, okay, well, how can I help other people? That's pretty awesome. That's actually what we kind of need from our legislators, right? We need people that want to help other folk, and this is, you're probably going to be mad at me when I say this, okay? And I don't mean no harm, but you seem incredibly sweet. Like I'm getting the vibe that there's probably nothing you wouldn't do for your neighbor if your neighbor asked. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I know a lot of politicians be like, don't call me sweet, especially women, right? We don't want to be, but like, I want somebody that's going to see my humanity and come up and give me a hug whenever I'm not right. And you just strike me as that kind of person that was, let me offer you this hug. We have,
and I would not say that I've always been like that. I've really had a change of heart. My, as my son was born and growing up, it's been, a slower development than I guess, like being born with it, so to speak. But I feel a lot happier now that I understand people better, or I understand that I don't understand, which is some sort of level of understanding.
Interesting. So it sounds like your maturation process was like maybe, you were a little bit judgmental of other folk in the beginning when you were younger.
I think it's because I'm such a perfectionist and I'm so critical of myself that I think I was too critical of other people and I was blind to it.
I like that, because my girlfriend tells me all the time, Dana, people don't think like you. Won't you stop? Like, I have to be reminded myself, because I'm sympathizing with you because I know that person. I am hard on myself. In fact, I don't even believe that I'm like all that smart. Like, my girlfriend tells me, Dana, I'm smart. Smart people don't like to talk to dumb people. So I struggle sometimes with my own stuff. And then because I don't think that I'm very smart, I get frustrated when I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, if I can do it, why can't you do it? Right? We all have our things, and when you grow, right, you learn to see it differently. So what made you put your name on the ballot? It's one thing to want to help people and learn the system and try to help people navigate difficult situations, but running for office, that's something totally different. You're running for a state Senate seat.
I know it was kind of unexpected for me too. So I didn't really even decide until December. And I thought, well, I haven't really been into politics. Maybe I should get my feet wet, try a board position. Maybe that'll give me some sort of platform that people take me more seriously and I can explain what's going on better. And then I was talking to another senator who has been in communication with me about like different things that are happening in the disability community. And I told him what I was thinking. And he said, you should just run for state senate.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, I flipped a district. You can do it too. It just takes a lot of knocking on doors.
Would that be that JD Ford fella?
No, it was Fatty Cadora.
That was my next guess. I love Fatty. Well, I'm glad he encouraged you. And I'm glad to hear that Fatty was in communication with you even before you decided to put your name on the ballot, because that's the kind of state senator he is. Yay, Fatty. But also that he encouraged you to put your name on the ballot. So what was that conversation like? You ain't got to tell me the details. Just when he said that to you.
I might have laughed in his face, honestly. That sounds so rude. But I thought he was crazy. And then I don't exactly remember what happened after that, but there were a few different random events that happened that made it feel like this is where life was pointing me. I had actually been accepted into nursing school. I was going to go back to school and become an RN.
Wow.
And so I was going to start that in January. I had applied, been accepted. And so it just really felt like this was a now or never type of situation. And I just felt like it needed to be done because nobody else is doing it and nobody else is listening. And I just really want people to hear what's going on.
I love that. Now, I know when I started running for office, I there was a thing that pushed me over the edge, and it was, RFRA. But when I got out and I started knocking on doors and talking to people, that wasn't necessarily the most important thing to them. When you're out talking to people, what are some of the things that they're telling you they want you to work on when you're elected?
I hear a lot of just everything.
Wow.
Literally, people will say everything.
Wow.
And then I hear a lot of people say just like humanity, that type of thing. Yeah. Which I know sounds so simple, but
well, it's not though. But because some people can't see humanity, if you're not like them, then are you really a human? Right? If you don't think like them, you don't pray like them, you don't love like them, you don't look like them, then something's wrong. Then you're not human. Like just like the man, they posted the pictures of the Obamas as primates. That's how they see us. And I love that. And so when you win your election, because you're going to win, right? Fatty's right. You're going to win. What is the first piece of legislation that you would like to work on, and what are your ideas for it?
Well, I guess it depends.
Okay.
Because with my home care business, I don't know exactly what type of conflicts of interest there would be, and if I would need to sell my business and how much I could be involved in healthcare besides maybe just educating people more on it. If I was able to write something, I would love to expand the HIP program. I think that would make a really big impact in people's lives, because a lot of people and small businesses, there's a lot of people that even though they have coverage, it's such high deductibles, such high premiums, or they have it through work. And so then they're trapped at a job, then they can't improve themselves and move up because they're trapped by healthcare. And small businesses can't always afford to give their employees healthcare. We get such a big return from the federal government with the Medicaid expansion. Right now, we only have to pay 10% and the federal government pays the rest.
Okay.
So it's also an economic stimulus, to everybody, and creates jobs, which creates taxpayers. It just is a snowball effect in a good way, that I feel like that would be the best place to look at spending money and helping people.
I love that. That makes a whole lot of sense. Because I believe that you're going to win. there are a lot, the likelihood is that you're going to have to partner with somebody on the other side, right? And now I don't have any Republican friends. I just don't but I ain't running for office, right? Tell us about your leadership style and how you would learn to navigate working across the aisle to get something done.
I think a lot of it is sometimes you have to understand you're not going to be able to get the best results and that you might just be able to make things better. And so if there's still a Republican supermajority, I think that there's going to be a lot of that. But if you can come at it without being so stubborn about, all or nothing, I do feel like there is room to make improvements on legislation that might get passed anyways if you don't, with the supermajority. So more just trying to make people understand what everyday Hoosiers are going through and try to appeal to their not only to their heart, but to their pocketbook. Because a lot of these things that Democrats look at as, all these programs that help, a lot of them help our economy and bring dollars into the state and return federal dollars that would go to another state that we've already paid. And I don't know that they always realize all the moving pieces, not just like what they get, but also what not doing it, what snowball effect of negativity flows from that. And that's what I'm kind of scared about now is I don't even think the state has fully felt the wrath of all the decisions that have already been made. And I think it's going to take a while to turn the ship around. But if there's a miracle and there's this blue wave and then all of a sudden there's this blue supermajority, the sky is the limit.
Oh my goodness. See now you know what? I love that hope. I'm loving that hope that you bring. And I feel that. And you said something that was interesting. We break the supermajority. You must be hearing stuff because I'm imagining you've got some of rural Allen County and some other rural areas. Yeah.
Too much. I'm more like Fort Wayne, Northeast, so up into Huntertown. But yeah, I would say more city. But
Okay. So all we got to do is help you get turned out, get voters to the polls for you and get your message of, I'm a caregiver. You need to send a caregiver to go write policies because I'm going to care about the people when I write them. Like, we just got to get you out there.
Well, and honestly, I think the thing that people can probably relate to the most is that program I said of how my son with his disabilities can qualify for Medicaid, even though our family doesn't. That program has really long wait lists right now.
Wow.
And so I think about those families with kids that are born with feeding tubes and they're not able to access that. But also, your grandparent, your mom, that the state is pushing to move everybody into a nursing home and not allow them to be cared at home. And I think everybody can feel that. Nobody wants to put their mom in a nursing home. And the state is basically tying people's hands right now and making them.
Interesting. So, you mentioned something earlier about you don't know what the conflicts of interest would be once you become in the State House. I imagine there's not going to be any because we got developers in the State House as elected officials, and they're passing legislation on how to develop, like land development. So I'm hoping that you don't. But here's the thing. Do you remember when the state was moving towards closing down all the institutions? And that's where the home health care business kind of began to thrive because they were taking, people with special needs out of these institutions and letting them go home. Now I wonder what the reversal stems from, right?
Money.
Money,
because they expect that families don't want to put their loved one in an institution, and the state is counting that they don't have to pay anybody, and family will just kick in and help for free.
Yeah. But see, if you put them in an institution like a nursing home, now you got to pay for that. And that's going to cost you a whole lot more. So why not?
And you don't get good care.
You do not. You do not.
No.
I remember when my dad was in rehab, and it's hard to see your parent out of your control when they need you the most. And one of the things that I did to make sure that they took care of my dad was I would take them pizzas on Friday. I would bring candy. I would do all the extra stuff so that the caregivers knew, hey, I appreciate you. And for the most part, my dad was in pretty good shape, right? I know a lot of people don't think about that. Like, yes, it was a bribe. It sure was. Because when I go home at night, I need to make sure my daddy gonna be okay. But it's an interesting change from what we used to do, and what, moving away from institutions to group homes and then being home caregivers. It's a scary thing. Is there something that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you?
I don't know.
Is it scary? So it's scary being a first-time candidate. I know, right?
It's definitely different. It's outside of my comfort zone. I never wanted to run for politics. Honestly, my entire life, my dad has said, be careful what you do. You might want to run for politics, run for office one day. And I was like, no, I will never.
And see, fathers know best.
I am.
Fathers know best.
Apparently.
I love it. All right. So give us your elevator pitch.
Oh, my elevator pitch?
Yeah.
I feel like I've already kind of talked about it, but I'm just really focused a lot on affordability.
Okay.
And consumer protections. I think one of the biggest problems that's going to start happening, I mean, obviously data centers are the big thing right now, but electronic price tags. I think we're going to start seeing them in grocery stores, and they're going to do surge pricing based on the time of day. And I think that they're going to do more personalized pricing, where they surveillance based pricing, basically. And they already kind of do that on some of these apps like Instacart. They will charge different people shopping at, similar miles away at the same store, the same item, different prices, because they find out your shopping habits and then they exploit it. So you pay the most that you would be willing to pay.
Interesting.
For each individual person. And so I think that needs to get addressed before it becomes an issue. I think that things like that should be banned 100% in the grocery stores. Surge pricing sometimes has its place, like with Uber or, some industries, but definitely not grocery stores. No. And I think personalized pricing across the board shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I think of airplane tickets, you check your price and then you come back the next day to buy the ticket and it's more expensive because they know that you've already searched it once. That stuff shouldn't be happening. That's just corporate greed at its finest.
Yeah.
Childcare, it's so unaffordable, which affects small businesses because they can't hire anybody. And the state's response to that, I don't know if you saw what Governor Braun put out recently about trying to help with the childcare problem that he created.
Yes. Yeah. Oops.
He was basically going to lower the standards of who could be a childcare provider and then make it so they no longer had to provide lunches and meals. So parents would have to pack it and bring it each day.
Oh my God. See, something wrong with him. But see, if you hadn't have done what you did, qualified daycare centers, my sister had a daycare center and she had to close down. I was sick for her because it was something that she had worked hard to build. And then because
I think there were over 320, I think, that closed across Indiana.
Yeah. And now, wait a minute. I don't have a place to take my kid. Excuse me, Brian, I ain't got a place to take my kid. What I'm supposed to do? Oh, we messed up, didn't we? Yeah, you did. And those guys.
And I think there's been estimates of, I think it's Indiana loses $2 billion a year in productivity because of childcare problems.
That's
It's crazy. I mean, it's our workforce infrastructure,
Yeah.
and we should really be treating it as such. And so the state just has all their priorities wrong. I am the type of person that gets into the weeds. I read manuals from start to finish, into the fine details. If you want to know anything about Medicaid waivers,
Oh
I
my
know
God.
100. I know more than the state. I can tell you stories about that. But I just want to help people. I'm not a career politician, but I know what it's like to struggle, and I just want to help.
I love that. I love that. I think that you have all the right intentions. You have, well, first of all, what was that thing you got a degree in with a bunch of statistics and stuff that made my brain hurt? What was that? What was that called?
Actuarial science.
Actuarial science. I don't even know what that is. And the fact that it's something that you pursue means you probably smarter than half the people in that state house right now. So I am ready to send you there.
I only did that because I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up, and I always really enjoyed math, and I always really enjoyed money.
Okay.
And it was it's a good paying job. It's a lot of math, and they have like 9 different like certification testing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But it pays really well, and so that's kind of why I picked it.
Well, I ain't mad at you. Look, you were looking out for your future. I ain't mad at you. Y'all, Julie McGill running for State Senate District 15. Tell the people where they can find you.
So you can go, I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Most of it should be at McGill for Indiana, and 4 is all spelled out. Same thing with my website, McGillforindiana.com. You can sign up to volunteer, get a yard sign, make a donation, read more about where I stand on different policies, and a little bit more about me.
I love it. I love it. I wish you the absolute best. I think you're going to do really well because you have your facts, because you do the actuary science. You're actually actuarying. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Y'all, listen, let me tell you something. Don't y'all want to send some smart people to the State House? Do you know what actuary science was before she explained it? I know I never even heard of it. And it's all right that when she was a young person, she was like, I'm going to go study this thing so I can figure it out, so I can make me some money. I ain't mad at her. That's ambition. When you're young and you got ambition. But listen, she made an ask, but I'm going to double it. All right? Click on her donate link. It's right there. Click her donate link. See, Fatty is already suggesting that she's going to be good in the State House. Fatty Cador knows what he's talking about. We know Senator Fatty Cador knows what he's talking about. So now it's up to us to help Julie get the votes that she needs to take this office. So go to her website, sign up to be a volunteer. Tell her what you want to do. Tell her what you can do so that she knows how to use you effectively, because she's not trying to waste your time. Okay? But maybe you become a $5, $10, $15 recurring donor. Okay? Because every little bit helps. And why do you need to donate? Because she's gonna need to send out mailers. Right? Because as much as she would love to have as many volunteers as she can, she may not get to every door. So mailers will help with that. She's going to need to buy water and nutritious stuff for her volunteers that are out knocking doors. And there's all these things that she needs to touch voter contact, right? To touch people. That's why these folks raise money. Right? I know y'all see the big boys and they be like showing all their commercials and stuff like that. Nah, at the State House, it's about knocking doors, and it's about having conversations with people and letting them know where you stand and why you're in this race. Okay? I believe in Julie McGill. See, I did it. She said people put the Jill and her last name together. I did it. Julie McGill, Senate District 15. Y'all, Indiana's own Dana Black, turned left. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will holler at you next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.